even though it's not weekly anymore. But now it will be every Tuesday. We're gonna crank out the weekly update of what I've been learning and what God has just been showing me. And let's say this week was a lot. So where I left off was like finishing up humility. It was just really understanding that. But I think even now I have gone like more into humility, but from that it's branched out into a bunch of other things that I've learned. So most of what I've spent time on is speech, is simply just how I talk. And most of it has come from two verses, specifically being James 1:19, which is, "Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger." And I think that's like I've talked or done a lot on speech already. I covered almost every other verse. But for some reason until now, I didn't look at that verse. And then even now I've like still talked about it more with my friends. And like it's truly, I think that verse is one of the hardest things to do. Like truly. In this generation, in this time, in how we act almost, and how like the culture itself is we are very much not slow to speak. We are sometimes quick to listen. So it's just going more into that and like how we need to be that. But then it kind of expanded so much more, which this is a whole page of notes on, like how the other two verses afterwards, and then going more into that, some other verses, kind of just caused me to learn something else. So, verse 20 and 21, "For the anger of men does not produce the righteousness of God. Therefore put away all filthiness and rampant wickedness, receiving with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your souls." See, so the line that really stuck out to me when I focused was, "And receive with meekness the implanted word." Like, one, it's saying the word is implanted in us. Like, we know the word. And to, like, receive that. To receive the words that we know. Which makes sense when you look at it. Like, we all crave longing, fulfillment, and, like, the stuff that Jesus provides. So it makes sense. But also, like, to go in on that, we also need to memorize the words. That way it is implanted in us. Which then it kind of just went into like talking about God's will, because we know his revealed will is pretty much this book, is what it is. So then it's because we now have the will implanted in us, we know what his will is, which then led me to, I think, the biggest thing that I don't know if it's relearned. I would say I've just experienced deeper and understood deeper now because of all this learning, which would be trust. Man. And I say that even now, knowing I'm not fully where I want to be with trust in God, and still growing, but also not sure if I'll ever get to where I want to be. Right? So, to to go into that, what he's been showing me is we know his will, we know his heart. So then we can trust him. Because when you know his heart and will, you know what he's going to do. You know, like, that he's going to work all things for good. No matter how bad it looks now, it will. So, but it also, to me, with the trust, it continued to go back to speech. And it went to the verse which is, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So Matthew 12 something, I think. Let me look so that way I don't just absolutely lie. It's also somewhere in Luke. I was right. It is 12:34. Yeah, Matthew 12:34. So, for out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And that has just, like, destroyed me when I think of that. And then I've, like, brought this up to friends about, like, how rude I come off or how rude I can be. And it's always, like, yeah, we talk about it and I love that. And then they're like, dude, your heart's pure in this. I get, like, you're good. But to me, my mind just keeps racing back to this verse of, like, if I'm being rude, what is the abundance of my heart? Is it not an overflow from Christ's love? And I think, like, sitting here saying that, it leads, like, it even ties in, like, a nice bow on everything. It's like, just like so much sitting and waiting on the Lord. Like, just sitting and being in his presence. With, like, no agenda. And I think when I start to do that, and I've done it more now, is that what is, like, that's the abundance thing. Because I'm just sitting with love, like, with love. Like, sitting, looking at love, and love's looking back at me. And, like, that's the abundance I want in my heart. And I'm continually working towards. And, like, just how good that is. And then it's, honestly, I have three and a half pages more of notes, and yet it really is just summed up by longing for his presence, trusting him, and then changing how I act, and acting in a way that if someone followed me around and I couldn't talk, but they just followed me around for a week and I couldn't talk to them, would they know that I follow Christ? And I'm not saying yes, they'll know from how much time I spend in the Word or with others in that type of community. But, like, purely if they don't see that, if I'm sitting here and they don't see anything I do outside of my interactions with others, would they truly say I follow Christ? And that's kind of just, like, what I've been thinking about today, but also yesterday, was like, that was my kind of focus yesterday. And I think the big thing for me that I took out of it yesterday was grace. Like, I can look back upon all 20 years of my life, which isn't a lot, and see how much wrong I've done, and be like, oh, I messed up there, and then just focus on that. And yet, when God looks at me, he doesn't see that. So why do I? And it's like giving me the grace like God gives. But not just that, it's giving grace to others. And my brain the entire time was kind of just thinking about, like, it's their first time living too, right? Like, we're all living for the first time. So no matter what happens, give them grace. Love them. And look at them how Jesus would. So with just love and mercy and grace. And I also think the other thing, I read this morning, which is in 1 Chronicles 22. It's talking about how David kind of prepares to build the temple, even though he won't build it, but like Solomon will. And in verse 5 it goes, "For David said, Solomon my son is young and inexperienced, and the house that is to be built for the Lord must be exceedingly magnificent, of fame and glory throughout all the lands. I therefore will make preparations for it." The house of the Lord that is to be built, for the house that is to be built for the Lord must be exceedingly magnificent. Where is house, guys? Like, I know that's like a simple thing to say, but then like, great, now I'm viewing every single person as exceedingly magnificent. Like, that's just the way I've been thinking about it today. It's like every person I encounter, I run into, is considered tov. So good, by God. Very good, technically. So they're exceedingly magnificent. So just treating them that way. Oh, there's the weird update on what God has been showing me, and kind of just what I want to challenge you guys with is, like, show more grace, show more love,